Hello and welcome back to the Commodities Trade Institute podcast, your daily breakdown of the global commodities markets and the forces moving them. I'm your host, Emily Costa. Today is Thursday, May 7th, 2026. We begin today's deep dive in Paris, where the group of 7 trade ministers are currently gathered with a very specific and increasingly urgent target: critical minerals. The conversation is dominated by one reality: China's overwhelming grip on the supply chains for the materials that power everything from electric vehicle batteries to defense systems. French Finance Minister Roland Lescure was quite blunt about it, noting that China's market share is so dominant they can essentially set prices low enough to force any would-be rivals out of the market entirely. The group of 7 is looking for a concrete way to ensure that economic dependencies aren't weaponized against them. However, unity is being tested by more than just external threats. United States President Donald Trump has suggested raising tariffs on European-made cars to 25%, citing a failure to comply with previous trade agreements. It is a reminder that while these nations want to present a united front against Eastern dominance, internal trade frictions remain a major hurdle. While the group of 7 looks for ways to secure its future, South America is already positioning itself as the next great mineral frontier. Argentina is projecting a massive surge in exports, specifically lithium and copper. Over the next 10 years, the country expects to export $12 billion $100 million worth of lithium and $20 billion $600 million in copper. This is more than 5 times their total mining exports from last year. This boom is being credited to President Javier Milei's investment incentive scheme, which is finally starting to unlock large-scale capital from giants like BHP and Rio Tinto. Argentina's mining minister, Luis Lucero, is even floating the idea of a copper triangle involving Chile and Peru. It is a historic opportunity for a country that has historically been held back by foreign exchange shortages, and it signals a major shift in where the world will look for the raw materials of the energy transition. Moving into the world of agriculture, we are seeing a much more cautious outlook in Brazil. Analysts are expecting only marginal growth for the soybean area in the upcoming 2026 and 2027 season. This is largely due to rising fertilizer costs and the looming threat of a strong El Niño. In the world's largest soybean-producing nation, farmers are dealing with incredibly tight margins. An El Niño event could bring a devastating drought to the center-west grain belt while dumping excess rain in the south. When margins are this thin, there is simply no incentive for farmers to expand. Meanwhile, in India, the government is holding steady on its sugar exports for now, despite lower production. It's an interesting dynamic. Output is expected to lag behind consumption for a second straight year. Yet internal prices have remained stable because demand is actually softening. The conflict in the Middle East has actually caused cooking gas shortages, which has hit the restaurant and eatery sector in India quite hard, leading to lower sugar use. So, for the moment, the Indian government sees no need to curb shipments, even as El Niño risks hang over next year's monsoon season. In the dry freight and soft commodities sector, we are seeing some weather-related disruptions in Colombia. Coffee exports there fell 15% in April because heavy rains soaked the growing regions and delayed the harvest. On the grain side, Algeria's state agency just wrapped up a significant tender, buying around 400,000 tons of milling wheat. While the volume was lower than initial estimates, it's clear that the Black Sea region, specifically Romania and Bulgaria, remains the primary source for these massive shipments, despite the ongoing logistical headaches in the region. That brings us to the energy markets, which are currently caught in a strange state of suspended animation. Brent crude futures dropped nearly 8% yesterday, settling at around $101.27 a barrel. This was driven by progress in peace talks between the United States and Iran. But here is the catch. While the paper market, the futures, responded instantly to the hope of peace, the physical market is a different story entirely. We are looking at one of the biggest supply disruptions in history. Total Energy's chief executive Patrick Pouyanné pointed out that even if the war ends this month, the world is exiting the conflict with dangerously low inventories. global stockpiles have been drawn down by 10 to 13 million barrels per day. We have already consumed at least 500 million barrels from storage just to keep the lights on. To put that in perspective, that is more than the entire current crude inventory of the United States. Even if the Strait of Hormuz reopens tomorrow, it will take weeks for shipments to reach global refiners. Shipping backlogs alone could take 2 months to clear. We are entering the peak summer demand season for driving and aviation in a severely weakened position. Morgan Stanley is predicting that United States gasoline inventories could fall to their lowest levels in modern history by late summer. The reality is that the energy system has been stressed to its breaking point, and it could take at least 6 months for the market to return to anything resembling normal. Finally, we look at the unintended consequences of the rapid shift to renewables in Europe. Solar power has been a massive success story, with capacity growing by over 115% since 2020. But this solar flood is now creating a crisis of its own. In Germany, solar generated a third of the utility power in April. On sunny days, the system is so saturated power prices are actually turning negative. This means generators are literally paying the market to take electricity off their hands. It is playing havoc with the balance sheets of power companies and putting immense stress on the grid. The solution is clear, but incredibly expensive. Europe needs a massive upgrade in battery storage. We are talking about far more than the 15 gigawatt hours added last year. The grid needs thousands of miles of new transmission lines and software that can adjust power flows in microseconds. Without these upgrades, the very success of solar power threatens the stability of the entire energy network. As we look across the commodities landscape today, the common thread is a world trying to rebalance itself after a series of massive shocks. Whether it is rebuilding oil stockpiles, securing mineral chains, or upgrading power grids, the recovery is going to be long, costly, and complex. If you found this episode valuable, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Find us online at commoditiesinstitute.com